He keep on blessing me. 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 He keep on blessing me.
God gave me, and let the devil take it, take it.
He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me.
God gave me, and let the devil take it, take it.
Sent his son to die for me. Never got tired of me. It's the most high for me. Know he gon' slide for me. All in my trials with me. When I call on him, he listen. Gotta please my God, I'm persistent. With commitment, there's consistency. I'm prepared to go the distance. No Satan gon' stir up mischief to make it lose hope, that's his mission. God with me, who could be against me? With the vanity, you gon' have to miss me. I got joy even when I get afflicted. In the spirit, I gotta stay lifted. Devil crafty, can't let him trick me. I was wicked, but I repented. Dedicated my life, I meant it. Back then, used to serve in the trenches. Now I just wanna preach his word in the trenches. Holy Spirit right there to assist me. I'ma hit my shot, won't miss it. Producing more horsepower like pistons. Eternal life, yeah, that's my mission. He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me.
God gave me, and let the devil take it, take it.
He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me.
God gave me, and let the devil take it, take it.
Gotta live by the Great Commission. Make disciples and preach repentance. The wicked ones gon' feel attention. Lake of fire ain't no detention. Won't waste my time, I entertain dissension. 2/3 ain't never gon' get it. Peculiar people ain't never gon' fit it. I speak truth, I don't care about feelings. Fair not, cause I wish I didn't. Hard still, I'm standing on business. No fear, the enemy ain't winning. I know the gospel, so I gotta defend it. Can't love God if you're practicing it. Your pastor lied, you can tell him I said it. We can debate his lie. Better make him look silly, I don't take credit. Y'all gets the victory. Ain't got short time and it ain't no mystery. Same old tricks, you can take the history. Kill, steal, destroy, you know what his mission be. Master at deception, but ain't deceiving me. A child of the promise, man, I'm truly blessed to be firm in my faith. Never take the joy from me. The Most High carry out judgment, frequently obedient to his law, so he keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me.
God gave me, and let the devil take it, take it.
He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me. He keep on blessing me.
God gave me, and let the devil take it, take it. Bless me, bless me.
It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Yeah, many are called, but few get chosen. Matthew 22:14. My righteousness gonna exceed that of the Pharisees. Do what they say, not as they do, like bad parenting. Shout out to Job. I strive to be blameless. Can't live in sin and get salvation. I lost a lot, it don't compare to what I'm gaining. If your faith don't match your works, then you're playing. I want the kingdom, y'all wanna be rich and famous. I do the work, study the ant, so I ain't lazy. Black Christians be like, Israelites crazy. Sleepwalking, don't understand, that's who they is. Mental bondage, side effects from enslavement. You still loving your master, that's crazy. Reprobate mind, no way you gon' persuade them. So the chariots ain't gon' swing low to save them. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It's a blessing to understand the scriptures. Without the Holy Spirit, you'll never get the picture. If you don't harmonize your understanding, ain't official. Make sure you learn how to fish before you're fishing. The Bible don't contradict, people contradict it. Don't wanna be obedient, they wanna be missing. Abuse grace like it's a license for sinning. Yeah, you gon' slip up and sin, but don't practice it. Broad is the way that lead into destruction. everybody. Salvation, it ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. The script, it ain't for everybody. The king, it ain't for everybody. Salvation, it ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody.
We are treasures.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like that can be a good conversation starter.
I think the message is beautiful. It's also biblical. The Bible speaks about children of Israel being called by the Most High as a treasured people or a special people. So I definitely think it's a beautiful message.
Ain't no free will, it's all predestinated. From every death to every child brought forth through copulation. From the spouse that you choose to your current occupation, you either receive mercy or Yahweh's indignation. I can recollect on times that I could have been dead. Caught lacking, no strap, I had a knife instead. Played it cool, he wanted to kill me for how I used to move. Had to match his energy, portray that I was strapped too. But inside I'm praying to God, hoping he don't shoot. Still I'm whooping, telling him I know what he won't do. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation, it ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation, it ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Yeah, many you call, but few get chosen. Matthew 22 and 14. My righteousness gonna exceed that of the Pharisees. Do what they. Shalom, 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 Mark, shalom, family.
Shalom.
Shalom. How does my audio sound?
Nah, audio's good. Audio's good.
And all praises, all praises. So first, we want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh, and we do so by Shem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. That's in the name of the only begotten Son, who most around the world know as Jesus Christ, whose real name is Yahweh Shai in the Paleo Hebrew. And I'm your brother, Hurt 2.0 or Hurt Lit. And I got my aunt Aaron with me, and the title for the lesson today is the story of Job and the examination of his nationality. Um, this topic came up. One of our sisters, beloved sisters, Sister Shaq, she had a question about the nationality of Job, because when you look into the book of Job, you don't really have a definitive answer. There's no direct um verse you can go to that'll say Job is of the tribe of Judah, or Job is an Edomite, or whatever, the different arguments that have been presented are. There's nothing to support that, not directly. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into the scriptures. We're going to analyze what most likely would be the outcome of Job's lineage based off what we're able to find. And we're also just going to analyze the story of Job, analyze Job's life, and the reasoning for why he went through the things he went through. Because everyone's familiar with the story of Job, that Job went through a lot of things got taken from him. But we have to really analyze why, and also see how we can apply it to our own life. But Ak, if you got anything you want to add, you can.
Con. Yeah, all praises to the Most High. Shout out to everybody that's on the live, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to share if you haven't already. Yeah, like how the brother said, I'm looking forward to it. And I do remember the question that the sister brought up. Shout out to her for a question. And I think this lesson is going to be very good and insightful. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're able to, make sure to take down some notes as well, because you're going to see some things that you may or may not be familiar with. So I'll pass it back to you,
Khan, the Water King, and all praises for everybody that's able to join us. The Water, for your sharing, for your liking, for commenting. Shalom, Sister Wendy, Sister T Soul, which is Shantia, Sister Shantia, Sister Zuli, daughter of the King,
the water for everybody that's tuned in right now. And even if you haven't commented, shalom to you also. So yeah, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it. And y'all excuse our lateness today, our tardiness today. We had a couple things going on beforehand. So but all praise to the most high, we able to be here to join together. So we're gonna start with that article. So this article that Ak is about to about to display on the screen, it basically gives the different stances of people and how they look at Job as far as his nationality, what they would consider him as based off of whether it's hypothesis, whether it's their studies, or whether it's a something that they're trying to implicate because of personal reasons of how they look at the text or want to um basically put into the text ideas they want to present into the text based off of doctrine that they may have. And Shalom, Sister Kanaya. So yeah, you can go ahead and read this. This article isn't too long, so and you could probably blow it up a little more. It's pretty.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Let me blow it up a little bit. Okay, let me do it now. Okay. All praises. Con. It says, was Job an Israelite? I was asked the following question. Was Job an Israelite or Gentile? It is hard to say for certain because we are not told in the book. Peleg, Noah's great grandson through Shem, had a brother named Joktan, who had a son named Jobab. As we read in Genesis 10:29, if this Jobab was the same as Job, that would make Job Abraham's great uncle's son. And then verse 29, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab, all these were the sons of Joktan. Edom, the nation descended from Esau, once had a king named Jobab. He is actually listed as the second king of Edom. If this was Job, Job was certainly rich and important enough to have been a king. Then he was related to Israel, but not actually an Israelite, but a descendant of Abraham and Isaac and Esau. You can read about him in Genesis 36:33. And when Bela died, Jobab, the son of Zerah of Basra, reigned in his place. This Jobab is actually the one that the Septuagint identifies as Job in a section added at the end of the book. Issachar, one of the fathers of the 12 tribes, had a son named Job. This would make him the grandson of Israel. If so, he lived before the Israelites were made slaves in Egypt and was an Israelite. Genesis 46:13 talks about this. The sons of Issachar were Tola, Puvah, Job, and Shimron. There were also two Benjamites named Jobab, but they were late enough that it seems unlikely that Job was either of them. One hint may be the identity of Job's friends. There is an Eliphaz who is the son of Esau in Genesis 36:4, 10 through 12, 15 through 16. First Chronicles 1:35 through 36. If this was the Eliphaz of the story, it would be too late for the first Job. Though if Job was an Edomite, it would make sense that he would be friends with another descendant of Esau. Yet perhaps Eliphaz would have lived too early to have been friends with the Job who was also descended from Esau. If so, this would make Issachar's son the most likely candidate. The other two friends are not mentioned anywhere else, so they do not help us. So it is hard to say for sure who Job was. Take your pick. The Septuagint thinks he was the one descended from Esau, but if the Eliphaz who was Esau's son is the same Eliphaz, the one who was descended from Issachar may be more likely. So in the final analysis, it is hard to say. He may or may not have been an Israelite.
So with all that, they said nothing, y'all. They gave no definitive answers. All we see is a whole lot of ifs, and they're basing these hypotheses off of the name. But we know that all throughout the Bible, plenty of people have the same name. Even when you look at so-called Jesus and you look at Joshua, that's the same exact name in the King James Bible. So we have to find something that has more substance to actually rely on to be able to determine accurately what Job nationality would have been. And we got some good answers, I would say, because we're going to be using the direct um passage where we can actually find any information about Job to determine it. And Ak, if you want to comment on anything in that article.
Yeah. And we were speaking about this a little bit earlier. Uh, a main point that people like to use, and so you'll probably hear the doctrine that Job is an Edomite. That's derived from the so-called Septuagint, and so you see how they kind of make mention of it here at the end of the book. And so I'm gonna show y'all what they're referring to. So when you look, and this is on katabiblon.com, and if you look in any Greek Septuagint or a lot of Greek Septuagints, they'll have this. It carries these variants, and you see the different readings. And one rule of thumb in textual criticism is that the shorter reading is to be preferred, meaning that one is most original to the text. So when you start seeing text just add on paragraphs and paragraphs, that reading is most likely not original to the text. But digressing, right? When you look at this, Job 42, and I'll just read the first section, 42 and 17 from the Greek Septuagint. It says, "And it is written that he will rise again with those whom the Lord raises up. This man is described in the Syriac book as living in the land of Osis, on the borders of Idumea and Arabia, and his name before was Jobab," just like how the article mentioned. And then when you read through all of this, it clarifies him as one of the sons of Esau right here. When you just keep reading, I'm not going to read everything, but something that's interesting that it makes mention of is the Syriac book. Now, the Syriac book, and I'm a try to be real short with this. The Syriac book, that's 5th, 6th century AD. This is after Christ, right? Now, the Septuagint is supposed to be before Christ, like centuries before Christ. Now, there's a huge issue with someone saying, "Oh, well, in the Syriac book, Job is called an Edomite," and they're trying to act like this is in the Septuagint, because the Septuagint wouldn't have even, or the writers of the Septuagint wouldn't have even known about a Syriac book, because it's hundreds and hundreds of years after their time. So when someone comes to you and says, "Oh, well, Job was an Edomite," just look at the Septuagint. Well, just ask them to pull up the text, and then ask them to explain what the Syriac book is, and they're gonna have a hard time. And when they come to grips with that information, they're gonna see that it doesn't match up. So I did appreciate that a point in that article, because it spoke about the discrepancies within time that we see with saying, "Oh, well, if Job was this, it's not likely, because look at the time frame in which this person lived, and look at the time frame in which this person lived. That's most likely not that particular Job." So that definitely good points that are brought out. I would go out on a limb to say for sure Job is not an Edomite. And you definitely can't use the Septuagint to try to prove that, because there's many issues with that. But I digress, and I pass it back to you, Ak.
Khan, the water, all praises. So yeah, it's a lot of hypothesizing going on in that article, and we're about to show who he would actually derive from, what his nationality would be by looking at these scriptures, and the water ox for going into that also. And we've been talking about this. We've been discussing this for the last at least what past week out,
God.
couple of
I
times.
think beyond. I think
Yeah,
beyond.
probably been a couple of weeks, but couple of times here, couple of times there. And before we put this together, before I put this together, I kind of, picked his brain on a few things. He kind of came to me and was asking me like, what did I find so far? And I mean, I had never considered even looking into this until Sister Shaq had mentioned that. And so when we look at this text, we're not coming from a standpoint of like I got an agenda to push, so I'm gonna teach it this way. Nah, we just reading the text and we're gonna convey what the text is showing us. So all praise to the Most High. So let's go to Job 1,
God.
and we're gonna start with verses 1 through 3. Shalom, shalom, Sister Wendy. I think you was already you just shalom on YouTube. Shalom.
God. Shalom. Shalom, Sis Wendy. So this is Job chapter 1, say 1 through 3.
Yes, sir.
God. Book of Job, chapter 1, starting at verse 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east.
Come. So he was the greatest of all the men of the East, y'all. So the East at this point in time, I mean, if the land of Uz is very close to the land of Israel, it's not in Israel, it's outside of it, but that would make Israel a part of the land of the East. So those that would have been, or you can even say the land of Canaan, that area would have been inhabited by righteous brethren. So when we look at verse 1, it says there was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. I grab perfect in Hebrew.
Okay. This is Strong's H 3535. Tom, adjective, outline of biblical usage, perfect, complete, perfect, one who lacks nothing in physical strength, beauty, etc., sound, wholesome, an ordinary, quiet sort of person, complete, morally innocent, having integrity, one who is morally and ethically pure. In definition, complete, usually morally pious, specifically gentle, dear, coupled together, perfect, plain, undefiled, upright.
Con. When we look at this morally, or morals in general, when we're dealing with the scriptures, we know that your morals are based off of what? The laws of God. So basically it's saying he's perfect. He kept the law in a sense where he would have been a moral person, morally innocent. So he would have been perfect and upright, keeping the laws of God, not forsaking them, not practicing sin. I read Hebrew Chaldee lexicon.
Con,
I said Chaldee.
con. It's Jusinius Hebrew Chaldee Lexicon. Just start from the top.
Yeah.
Con. It says tamam or tamah, tam. Then it says whole, upright, always in a moral sense. Job 1:1. 8:20, 9:20 through 22. Then it says a peculiar use is Genesis 25:27. Yaakov, um, Ishtam, what is that? Yoshav, Ohalom, Ohalim. Jacob was an upright man, dwelling in tents, where Tom appears to indicate the milder and placid disposition of Jacob, as opposed to the more ferocious character of Esau.
And that's it. That's all you got to read.
Okay.
And so y'all, we not saying that he's a descendant of Jacob. That's not what we saying. But what is glaring is that the character of Job would have been in direct opposition to the character of Esau. So for those that are calling this man a Edomite, it don't even sound good. It don't look good for that stance already. This is the first point. And Shalom, Sister Diamond. And Ark, if you want to make a point, you can.
Yeah, that was a good point. Now, you pretty much brought it out. I just said Jacob, our father, was called that same word. So, yeah, that was a good way of bringing out all praises.
God, all praises. So let's get verse 4 and 5.
Okay. This is the book of Job, chapter 1, starting at verse 4. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned, and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually.
Okay, so what we see is Job believes that his children have sinned. And it says in verse 5 that he rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. So there's something wrong with this, y'all. If someone is trying to proclaim that Job is an Israelite or an Edomite, there's a problem with it. Because something that's going on is a sacrifice in the land of Uz. Job isn't dwelling in the land of Israel, so Job would be in sin. And I'm going to display why I'm saying this, y'all. And we just read he's a perfect and upright man. So give me Leviticus 17, 2 and 4.
Okay. It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 17, starting at verse 2. Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons and unto all the children of Israel, and say unto them, this is the thing which Yahweh hath commanded, saying, what man soever there be of the house of Israel that killeth an ox, or a lamb, or goat in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of Yahweh, blood shall be imputed unto that man. He hath shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people.
So we see that in verse 4 it says, and if you bring it not, this sacrifice, not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord, blood shall be imputed unto that man. He hath shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people. So you weren't supposed to make these sacrifices away from the temple, away from the tabernacle. And there were ways that you were supposed to follow different steps to go about making these sacrifices. And I'm gonna read this precept that I put in the chat. Ecclesiasticus 18 and 27. A wise man will fear in everything, and in the day of sinning he will beware of offense. But a fool will not observe time. And you can comment on that.
Just going back to that point in Job initially, when it said that he would after their feasting was done, he would go and sanctify them, get up early in the morning and offer offerings and things of the sort. And he would continuously do this. This kind of just shows that he was careful, because he said that it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. So Job, it wasn't like he was even 100%, but he was doing, what he believed was pleasing to the Most High, just in case. Like, he wanted to make sure that the Lord was appeased and not upset with him and his children. And also just and even adding on to that, like in light of the point that you brought out in Leviticus, um, if Job is at least contemporary to the giving of the law, let's say, then what would be a little bit problematic if he's just out in Edom somewhere, or the land of Uz, which is understood as, like, they would anachronistically associate that with the land of Edom. It's like southeast of Israel. What would be an issue is he's like how the brother said, he's not going to the particular place that's prepared within the habitations of Israel for them to offer, and for anyone to offer. Job is not going there, but he's, we don't have record of that, but we have him in the land of Uz. So he's just offering sacrifices in a particular place that's not sanctioned. And we see, and I don't know if you're going to go through Leviticus 17, but there's a staunch issue with that. And we see throughout the Tanakh, or the Old Testament in and of itself, where the Lord, he had issues with that. And this is something that's called idolatry. But I'll pass it back to you.
Con, and I'm not gonna go any more into Leviticus 17, but I'm gonna go to Deuteronomy 12.
Mhm.
And if I don't cover the point, you can just bring it out in Leviticus 17. But I should cover it, because I'm gonna go through the Deuteronomy 12 a good bit.
Con.
So let's get Deuteronomy 12, 1 through 4.
Con. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 12, starting at verse 1. These are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land which Yahweh God of thy fathers giveth thee to possess it, all the days that ye live upon the earth. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods, upon the high mountains, and upon the hills, and under every green tree. And ye shall overthrow their altars, and break their pillars, and burn their groves with fire. And ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods, and destroy the names of them out of that place. Ye shall not do so unto Yahweh your God.
So when we went into the lands of these heathen nations, they would have altars, and they would have groves that they were dedicating to the gods that they served. And when we entered into the land, verse 4 says, ye shall not do so unto Yahweh your power, or Yahweh your Elohim. So we weren't supposed to go into their lands and do what they did. We still were supposed to come and follow the way that he set forth for us, to go back into to Jerusalem, to the tabernacle, and offer up sacrifices. Give me verses 5 through 7.
God, jumping down to verse 5. But unto the place which Yahweh your God shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there, even unto his habitation shall ye seek, and thither thou shalt come. And thither ye shall bring your burnt offerings, and your sacrifices, and your tithes, and heave offerings of your hand, and your vows, and your freewill offerings, and the firstlings of your herds, and of your flocks. And there ye shall eat before Yahweh your Elohim, and ye shall rejoice in all that ye put your hand unto, ye and your households, wherein Yahweh thy power hath blessed thee.
So it didn't matter that they were away from the land. He still commanded them, bring your offerings to the temple. Don't do it in those lands. Give me verses 10 through 13.
Jumping down, this is verse 10. But when ye go over Jordan and dwell in the land of Yahweh your power, it's like dwell in the land which Yahweh your power giveth you to inherit, and when he giveth you rest from all your enemies round about, so that ye dwell in safely, then there shall be a place which the Most High shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. Thither shall ye bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and the heave offerings, it's like the heave offering of your hand, and all your choice vows which ye vow unto the Most High. And ye shall rejoice before Yahweh your power, ye and your sons and your daughters, and your men servants and your maid servants, and the Levite that is within your gates, for as much as he hath no part nor inheritance with you. Take heed to thyself that thou offer not thy burnt offerings in every place that thou seest.
So he's saying, make sure that you don't offer burnt offerings in every place that you see or wherever you see fit. I'm telling you how to do it and follow that way of doing things. And if you want to add, you can.
That's yeah, that's exactly what I had in mind. And you see like parallel literally in Leviticus 17, it speaks about the same thing. And it even says that when we did those things, it was classified as us offering to devils. So like this is something that the Lord is not pleased with. And you could venture out to say that it would be connected to idolatry. So in the case of Job, if we know that he's a perfect man, he eschews, meaning um he ab- he abhors or he dislikes evil. That means that he can't be living during the time of, when the children of Israel they received this would have to be, you know uh before. He would have to be living beforehand, because if he wasn't, then that means that he was just disregarding what the Lord said. So I'll pass it back to you.
The water. What the Lord said.
Out.
But so y'all, there were instances when sacrifices were not done at the temple in Jerusalem, but that was only when there wasn't a temple, or just like we've been talking about before the ordinance was given to do it in this manner that we just got through reading. So, give me First Kings 3, verses 1 through 3.
Come. It's the book of First Kings, chapter 3, starting at verse 1. And Solomon made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into the city of David, until he had made an end of building his own house, in the house of the Lord, in the wall of Jerusalem round about. Only the people sacrificed in high places, because there was no house built unto the name of the Lord unto those days. And Solomon loved Yahweh, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burnt off Slaka and burnt incense in high places.
Con. And this is
See
where
that?
Solomon went off at. When he went to loving these strange women, these strange wives, and he started to burn incense in the high places, he was going off. And when we look at verse 2, it says, only the people sacrifice in high places, because there was no house built unto the name of Yahweh until those days. So this ain't saying that it was okay for them to do it, but it's saying that people were actually doing it. And then we see Solomon, it says he loved Yahweh, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burned incense in high places. So he loved them, but then he started to do something that he shouldn't have did, which doesn't display the love of the Most High. And shalom, my brother Sam, long time no see. Man, I'm glad you tuning into the lesson, bro. I'm gonna be back down there in a couple months. I'm gonna have to chop it up with you, bro. But so if you want to add any more points to this, you can before we change speeds. But okay, I'll make a point on what Sister Wendy said, because I was gonna make a point on that also. She said, like how Abraham made an altar to sacrifice Isaac. And I was gonna reference Cain and Abel. how they did sacrifices. And this is also another good example too, with Abraham making the altars to sacrifice Isaac. They didn't have a specified place where they had to go to a temple. There was no temple for them to do that at. So they just made a sacrifice. They would make an altar and they would offer up sacrifices to the Most High. And just like Ox said, Noah as well. And Ox, if you want to make any points, you
Nah, that was good, and all praise to the Most High. Sister brought that out because this whole time I was just thinking about Noah, because like not even trying to jump the gun, but the only example, the only examples we see of, you know, sacrifices being given to the Most High is during that patriarchal period.
can.
Like you have like how you mentioned with Abel, and then we later on we get Noah after that, and then we get, you know, Abraham and the rest of the patriarchs. But we don't have any record of, you know, righteous men like after that period just offering sacrifices and establishing altars just in random places. Like we don't have any precedence for that. So um you know, and I'm gonna pass it back to you before I start to jump the gun.
Con. Yeah. So what so what people would ask then? They would say, well, what nationality is he then? Since you're saying that, brother. Well, just like Ak, he kind of alluded to it. He would be around the patriarchal period, around the time of Abraham. Abraham. That's what we see. And so you would also have someone that would try to fight against that based off what we just brought out in First Kings 3, because there was a time period when there was no tabernacle or no temple to go to, right? So they would say, well, it could have been that time, brother, that there was no temple, no tabernacle, so Job couldn't travel to the land and go do the sacrifice. Well, there's another problem. I'll get Leviticus 4:27 through 29.
Gun.
Because y'all remember, he was sacrificing for supposed sins of his children.
This is the book of Job, chapter Slacket. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 4, verse 27. And if any one of the common people sin through ignorance, while he doeth somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done, and be guilty, or if his sin, which he hath sinned, come to his knowledge, then he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a female without blemish, for his sin, which he hath sinned. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the sin offering, and slay the sin offering in the place of the burnt offering.
Hmm. So if Job, like the scripture says, he was a perfect and upright man, he would have upheld it. He would have did it in this fashion. He would have told his children, hey, come here. Y'all need to make a sacrifice for your sins. So you need to go and get a kid of the goats, a female without blemish, for the sin which you sin. Now lay your hand upon the head of the sin offering and slay the sin offering in the place that you going this goat is about to be sacrificed. So they would have had to do it in this manner in order for Job to uphold the law as he was known to do, because he was perfect and upright. So verse 30 says, and the priest shall take of the blood thereof with his finger and put it upon the horns of the altar of burnt offering, and shall pour out all the blood thereof at the bottom of the altar. This would have been the only process. Well, this would have been the beginning of the process of what Job needed to do in this instance. He's not the one that sinned, so he's not the one that was supposed to offer up this sacrifice. There was still ways that you had to go about doing things, even if someone sinned of ignorance. So, looking at verse 27, it says, and if any one of the common people sin through ignorance, while he doeth somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done, and be guilty, or if his sin, which he have sinned, come to his knowledge, then he shall bring his offering, the kid of the goats, a female without blemish, for his sin which he have sinned. So we just see that if it's in the law, Job would have been upholding that. So he had to have been there before this law, this statute, or commandment was given. And Ak, if you want to make a point,
No, nothing to add on, King.
con. So, um, let's look at Genesis 25, verses 7 through 9.
God. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 25, starting at verse 7. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived, in 100 threescore and 15 years. Then Abraham gave up the ghost and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of, of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is before Mamre.
Con. Now this we brought this out just to show this is around the time where we would believe that Job would have just been a grown man. He would have been around during the time of Abraham. So we would deduce that he would be, of age at that point in time to be able to be before Jacob and Esau comes around, before the nation of Israel is established. So around this time would be the time that he would have been prevalent and actually, someone that would have been known by the Most High, just like Abraham. So around the time when Abraham got ready to die, because we saw that he was the greatest man of the East. We know he wasn't greater than Abraham. It's just no way around that. So, Ak, if you could, if you, I wonder if we want to do that now. Yeah, let's look at that chart out and let you kind of go into it.
Con, So this is from Rose Book of Bible Charts, Maps and Timelines, Volume 1, the 10th anniversary expanded edition. And this is just a Bible timeline. Has a few things listed, but we see 2200 BC and it's going forward. That's going forward in time. And the time is getting less as far as BC. So we look here and see Abraham. He's dated approximately 2166 through 1991 BC. Then we see the few things that happened, Abrahamic covenant, etc. Then we see in the midst of that Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob. I don't see Esau around here, but I mean Esau will be the same time as Jacob. But we see that Job, he's placed in this era, but we don't have the dates. So that's just speaking to what the brother was speaking about as far as Job. He would be um, contemporary of like these men, but like again, this a lot of hypothesis is done. But just even speaking about what we see within the book of Job, he would have to be before the time of Moses because again, like he wouldn't just be disregarding what Moses is saying. But yeah, just bringing that out, and I'll pass it back to you if you got any points on it.
The water Og, and it was through the spirit, because I had never seen this before. And when I told Og how I was looking at it and how the Most High was revealing it to me, because we've heard the stances, all of the stances, and I just, I was honestly just examining the text, and he was like, I got something, I want you to look at it. And when he showed it to me, he was kind of telling me and explaining it to me. I was like, man, that's crazy. And it's just like he's saying, like if you could blow it up, Ox, so to make
Oh,
sure they
slide.
see it good, just to make sure they can see it good. And Shalom, Mark, you already know. Anytime, man. All praise. Shalom, Mark.
I was just looking.
Looking good. That looks good. So yeah, if y'all can see it, it's right there next to or right below the Abrahamic covenant, and it says Job, dates unknown, but that's them giving an estimate. They're giving an estimate that it had to be around that time, just like we're doing. We're looking at information and saying, yeah, it had to be around that time. And we about to look at some more scriptures that's basically going to show that it had to be before the laws were given to Israel. So, Ak, if you could, let's get Job 42 and 15,
Uh,
because we're gonna see something else that would have made it would have made Job be in error and not be a perfect and upright man because of what he did in Job 42,
God. Job 42, and what was the verse?
verse 15.
God. It's the book of Job, chapter 42, starting at verse 15. And in all the land there were no women so beautiful as Job's daughters, and their father gave them an inheritance among their brothers.
And I know that just, on the surface, one would be like, what's so wrong with that? What did Job do wrong by giving his daughters an inheritance among their brothers? Well, we're gonna look at the law, y'all. So give me Numbers 27, verses 1 through 11.
God, it's the book of Numbers, chapter 27, starting at verse 1. Then came the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh or Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters: Mahlah, Noah, and Haglah, and Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest, and before the princes and all the congregation, by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, and he was not in the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died in his own sin, and had no sons. Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family, because he hath no son? Give unto us therefore a possession among the brethren of our father. And Moses brought their cause before the Lord. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad speak right. Thou shalt surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their father's brethren, and thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a man die and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. And if he have no daughter, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brethren. And if he have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his father's brethren. And if his father have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his kinsman that is next to him of his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be unto the children of Israel a statute of judgment, as Yahweh commanded Moses.
Con. So when we're looking at this, you're not supposed to give an inheritance to your daughters among your brethren. It was supposed to be gave to the daughters if there were no sons. So he would be in direct opposition of this law that the Most High God has set forth in Numbers 27. So when we look at verse 2. So this is speaking of them standing before Moses, the daughters. It says, and they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest and before the princes and all the congregation by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, and he was not in the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died in his own sin and had no sons. Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family, because he have no son? Give unto us therefore a possession among the brethren of our father. So they're asking, hey, give us possession among our uncles. This was their father's brother. And Moses brought their cause before Yahweh, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, The daughters of Zelophehad speak right. Thou shalt surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their father's brethren, and thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a man die and have no son, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass unto his daughter. And if he have no daughter, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brethren. And if he have no brethren, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his father's brethren. So you weren't supposed to skip the process. If there were sons that were available, that inheritance goes to the son. And Ak, if you want to add something.
Nah, nothing to add, King.
Con. So let's go back to Job chapter 1. And we're gonna pick back up reading where we stopped, where we left off, verses 6 through 12.
God, it's the book of Job, chapter 1, starting at verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Most High, and Satan came also among them. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan answereth the Most High, and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of Yahweh.
Con. So let's look at verse 6. So in verse 6 it says, Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them. This verbiage, we've dealt with this verbiage before, y'all. If you can remember, not long ago, we went into a lesson about who are the sons of God. Um, Basically showing that, when people refer to the Nephilim, that they would say that these were angels having sex with women. But when we analyze the sons of God, we find that the angels aren't called the sons of God. The sons of God are always men that are supposed to serve the Most High God. Because we seen in the instance of the Nephilim, they were disobedient to the Most High God, and they were called sons of God before their disobedience, and they started to sleep with these heathen women. So when we look at the sons of God, it says, Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. The worldview is these are angels, and they're going in front of God in heaven, and Satan is going in front of God in heaven, and this is the scenery. So this is the mental picture that people formulate when they read this verse. But it's not speaking of that. It's speaking of the sons of God going to the Most High God in prayer. Is not speaking of someone being directly in front of them. So, in saying that Satan came also among them, basically he would be in the midst of them. He would be analyzing, studying the sons of God, those that are obedient to the Most High God, and he's coming amongst them, just like we have Satan come amongst us in this day and age to tempt us, to try us, so we can go through tribulation, but we're supposed to prevail. So in this instance, he's going to the Most High God looking for permission to try somebody, and the Most High God gives him permission to try Job. So I want you to grab present themselves in Hebrew, so I can show what I just said about presenting themselves. Just mean that they were going to the Most High God, going before the Most High God in prayer, like we all.
God. So this is H3320. Yasav, verb, outline of biblical usage. To place, set, stand, set or station oneself, present oneself. Hithpa'al, to station oneself, take one stand, present oneself, stand with someone. And the definition, reflexively, to station, offer, continue, present selves, remaining, resort, set selves, be able to, can, with, withstand, fast, forth, forthing, still up.
And I go to Joshua 24 and verse 1.
Okay. Said 22 verse 1.
24 verse 1.
Okay. It's the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 1. And Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel to Shechem and called for the elders of Israel and for their heads and for their judges and for their officers, and they presented themselves before the Most High.
And it's the same exact word, y'all. And you can click on it out just to show it.
Okay. Same word.
And like you said, snasty work. They want to make that be angels so bad and make the sons of God be angels so bad, just in general.
Okay.
But yeah, just wanted to show y'all that it's the same word instead of just, saying it. Y'all take my word. I know y'all can trust me and take my word, but I'd rather show my work like they teach us to do with math. So all praise to the Most High, for giving us understanding on what we read. So looking back at Job 1, looking at verse 7, it says, "And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered Yahweh and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job?" So we see that Yahweh already know what Satan talking about. He's walking to and fro for. He's seeking out someone to destroy, like he always do. He says that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man. So he's saying Job's perfect and upright again. One that feareth Elohim and escheweth evil. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Has not thou made a hedge about him and about his house and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. But put forth thine hand now and touch all that he have, and he will curse thee to thy face. So Satan basically saying, man, Job only serving you because you giving him stuff. That's the only reason. Now, if you do something to Job or you take him through some trials and tribulations, watch how fast he turn around and curse you. Watch how fast he stop obeying you and he start breaking the commandments. Guess what, y'all? Satan deals like this still today with you and with me. He's the Most High God is gonna allow him to test you, especially if you've been displaying your faithfulness. And the reason is because what we see throughout the Bible, the Most High God wants to show that He is worthy to be praised, worthy to be worshipped, and that those that do worship him in spirit and truth. And he also wants us to prove ourselves, not just, people think that that gaining salvation is just going to be given to us because it says it's the free gift, like we've been talking about and dealing with for the past couple of weeks. Because it says it's the free gift, like we don't have nothing we have to do to receive it. We got to do something, y'all. And so we're going to be tested. The Most High God is going to allow Satan in to test us so we can prove who we are and who we stand for and who we worship. And Ak, you can bring that out if you want to. I'll read it for you and let you speak on it. So this is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 2, verse 5. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity.
Kind of just adding on to the point. When you look at the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 2, it actually details them that are serving the Most High having to be ready for temptation. I think it starts off the chapter that way. And when you get down to verse 5, and we see this thematic reference all throughout the Bible. Like you see it in Peter, you see it in Acts, you see it in many other places. But in verse 5 specifically, it says, for gold is tried in the fire. And so this is a similitude, right? And in the same way, acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So in order to refine gold, it has to go through the fire. And in the same way, acceptable men, they have to go through a fire or like trials and temptations and things like that as well to actually be considered acceptable. Because if you don't actually get tried and tested, but it's just like, all right, you know what, you pull up and you don't go through any temptation. You haven't been tempted at all. Like, we don't know if you would either fold or stand tall if your faith is challenged. And that's why we even see, and I'm gonna pass it to you. I think it's in the book of Acts, the 14th chapter. The apostle Paul, he says, through much tribulation we enter into the kingdom. So, like, again, it's not something that's just handed to you, like how the brother said, the free gift. It's not just like, oh, well, I believed and I've been walking with Jesus all my life, and it ain't, it's been easy. Like, it's not, that's not the situation. But you always hear people speaking about, oh, well, trials and temptations, and I didn't have, like, that's the average thing for someone that's faithful to the Most High God. But I yield.
And just to make a point on this scripture, um, it says, "For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity." For you to even end up in adversity, in trials and tribulation, you had to be considered potentially acceptable.
Mm.
Potentially, whether you pass the test or you fail, you bug out, fall out the truth, you were considered potentially acceptable. But you only become acceptable after you are able to overcome the adversity. But it's saying a lot to even be potentially acceptable. But we just gotta be able to be cognizant and aware of what we dealing with. That we dealing with a spiritual battle. That everything that comes in the physical, that manifests itself in the physical, we gotta understand the source. Like, this ain't. I'm not fighting a battle against a physical man, a physical woman, a physical situation. It's always gonna be spiritual, regardless. It may seem like, and it's this. No, it's the spirit in him that's
Right.
causing him to try to come at you to get you off your square, make you fail the test, so that you can fall out of this race. But let's read verses 13 through 22.
God. Continuing on, this book of Job, chapter 1, starting at verse 13. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabians fell upon them, and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only escaped, or am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and the servants, and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Then Job arose and rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground, and worshipped, and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. And Yahweh gave, and Yahweh hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly.
Con. So we see that Job lost his servants, his stock, children dead, and at the end of what we see and read from Job, it says in verse 20 that Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worship. So he was in dire straits. He wanted to rip his hair out. he was very upset at what happened. It says in verse 21, and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and Yahweh have taken away. Blessed be the name of Yahweh. So he could have, just got distraught, stressed out, depressed to the point where he cursed God. He's like, I can't believe that he would do this to me. But it says, in all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. Sometimes in this life, in this world, material things get in the way of our spiritual awareness. People attach their physical things to blessings. And if you feel like you're losing physical things or you're losing money, riches in that sense, like it's something you did to make you be in that situation. That's not always the case. We're gonna go through trials and tribulations when we're trying to live for the most high God. So it says, in all this Job sin not, nor charge God foolishly. We got to be of that same mind frame. We can't get to a point when we start going through these trials and tribulations that it causes us to sin, that it causes us to charge God foolishly. Give me Ephesians 4. And I didn't even plan to go into this. Ephesians 4, 26, 27. It just made me think of
Gun. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, starting at verse 26.
and get
Be
your
ye,
screen share.
Slaki. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, starting at verse 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil.
So it's not a sin for us to be angry. It's okay. We get angry. Everybody gets angry. But it says, be angry and sin not. And don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. That's something I practice in my marriage, with friendships, relationships in general, in this truth, and even my people that's still in the world. If something comes up and we have a disagreement or whatever it may be, before the sun go down, we gotta resolve that conflict. Because why would I sit there and allow this anger to be inside of me and to disturb my peace? You're supposed to forgive people for your own sake. You ain't doing it for them. You forgiving for your own sake, for your own peace, and also so that you can continually be forgiven from the Most High. Because if we not forgiving our people and moving on, and we letting the sun go down on our wrath, we're giving place to the devil. We're allowing the devil to be so prevalent and so heavy on us that guess what it can do? It can lead to some worse. It can blow up bigger than what it needs. But and we're gonna go more into that this Thursday in the Colossians 3 breakdown. It's gonna be a beautiful lesson through the Spirit and power of the Most High. But if you want to make a point, you can.
No, no points, King.
All right, let's go to Job 2 and give me verses 1 through 6.
God, this book of Job, chapter 2, starting at verse 1. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Most High, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Most High. And Yahweh said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered Yahweh and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Most High said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. And Satan answered Yahweh and said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face.
Through 6.
Salakia. Verse 6. And the Most High said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life.
So the first time we see that Job, Satan wasn't allowed to touch Job. He wasn't allowed to do any kind of harm to him. He was allowed to do harm to the things around him. And now he's saying Satan's coming with another excuse, like, Okay, well, yeah, you let me, take some stuff from him or whatever. But let me do something to him. Let me hurt him. And I bet you're gonna see what I'm telling you're gonna see. He gonna give up, he gonna curse you, and he's gonna sin. He's gonna go against you. And so Yahweh's like, go ahead. Because I know and trust that this is my faithful servant Job, and he's not gonna fail this test. So we have to build that same mindset just because things happen to us. You may have an illness that may come and plague your life in the near future. I don't know. But that's no reason for you to lack faith. That's no reason for you to give up. You're supposed to be empowered and strengthened I mean at the end of the day, because we know that we have faith. So it says the faith is the substance of things not seen. So we're relying on the most high God to actually be an intercessor for whatever problem we run into. So, Ak, if you could give me verses 7 through 10.
Jumping down, verse 7. So went Satan forth from the presence of Yahweh, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, Dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die. But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? In all this did not Job sin with his lips.
God. And his wife reminds me of the people of the world that will say, like, oh, I mean, why would such a loving God do such a thing? And Job's response should be all of our responses whenever we run into a trial or tribulation. That what we're gonna expect, we're gonna accept the good from the Most High God, but when something bad happens, we can't accept that. It also reminds you of how people will say, "Oh, where was y'all God? Where was y'all God at in slavery? Where was your God then?" Not understanding that we did something to receive what we did from the Most High God because we went against the laws, statutes, and commandments. And Shalom, T baby. And so, Ak, if you want to make a point, you can before we continue.
Nah, yeah, I mean, not to derail, because I have back and forth with, like, like certain people, and like they kind of fight against certain scriptures, like in Isaiah 45. I think it's Isaiah 45 and 7, when Yahweh said, I the Lord make evil or create evil. Right here, Job, he literally says, are we to only receive good and not evil? So Job, he's under the understanding that evil is something that you know you can receive from the Most High, and in the sense of like calamity and things happening to you, like you would perceive it as evil. Like all of these things come from the Most High. Ultimately, it's good, but like for instance, you have like a superhero. Like if he's beating the bad guy down, he's not a superhero to the bad guy. So like it is a perspective thing. But again, Job, he has an understanding of this. And then the narrative says, in all this did not Job sin with his lips. So Job, he spoke correctly and said, hey, we can expect good from the Most High, but we can't not expect evil from the Most High as well. And so that I always like to use that passage to show that, because Job, who was a righteous man, who the Most High was pleased with, he said, when he said this, he didn't sin. So that means he spoke correctly. But I'll pass it back to you.
Uh, beautiful point. Let's read verses 11 through 13 in chapter 2 of Job.
Con. Continuing on, this is the book of Job, chapter 2, verse 11. Now, when Job's three friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place: Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept, and they rent everyone his mantle and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great.
Con. Now, this is showing the condition of Job at this point in time. When we look at verse 12, it says, "And when they lifted up their eyes afar off and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept, and they rent every one his mantle and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven." So basically, they weep for Job's condition. They didn't even recognize him. This is how bad the trials and tribulations he was going through were to Job, that they couldn't even recognize him. They knew it was Job, but he didn't look like himself. And so there's different stresses that we may deal with. There's different things in life that we may deal with. But when you look at Job and he was unrecognizable by his friends, you can't sit there and cry over the petty things that you're dealing with. It can be worse. That's something we gotta always tell ourselves. It can be worse. You ain't going through half of what you could be going through. And there's always somebody in a worse condition than what you in. Somebody died not knowing the truth. Someone died after they rejected the truth. And we got to be able to understand that the Most High God, He has favor on us, even when we're going through trials and tribulations. Yeah, you can kind of speak on that.
Yeah, kind of just based upon verse 13, I used to always highlight this growing up. Verse 13 it says, so they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, but they saw that his grief was very great. And I put in the comments, a sidebar, sometimes you need friends to just be there but be silent. And again, like, that's something that we see right here, and it emphasizes in the latter clause, for, meaning because they saw that his grief was very great. And a lot of times, and we'll see it throughout the book of Job, like they start to say certain things and try to give him counsel later on. But imagine, you seeing, your friend's grief is very great, and you're like, well, man, what did you do that was wrong? Like, just come out the gate with that. And imagine, like, you being in a situation where you've lost a lot, and a brother or sister, they just coming up to you and they start saying stuff to you, and whether they mean well or not, it might not be the time and place for it, because you've lost, certain things that are near and dear to you. I would pray most of you haven't lost as much as Job has lost by this point. But again, like, just think about, you dealing with grief, especially grief to a high degree, and you just having, maybe some company there, that's just there to console you, maybe not to speak so much, but to just be a presence, versus having company there and maybe give you some not so needed counsel, and maybe to say the wrong thing. Like, I think in the book of Sirach, it speaks about how there's a wisdom that you can communicate out of season. And I think that this is like a good wisdom in the scriptures to show that, hey, like, sometimes you could just be around folks when they're grieving, and you could just be quiet, just be there for them. But that was just a sidebar. But I'll pass it back to you.
That's very good wisdom. I'll praise it.
I'll praise it.
Yeah, sometimes speaking can make things worse, make the person feel worse than what they was feeling before. Sometimes the words you say might not be the right words. Sometimes they might just need an ear. Listen to them. Let them vent. So let's get Job 3, verses 1-6.
God. It's the book of Job, chapter 3, starting at verse 1. So 1-6.
Yes, sir.
Con. It says, after this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born, in the night in which it was said, there is a man child conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not God regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. let it not come into the number of the months.
Con. I've heard people say this, and they ain't went through half of what Job went through. People be wishing that they could just die, that they were never born. I know y'all all heard it before too, and they haven't went through half of what Job went through, and he was in anguish, and this is just how he was expressing himself. But we have our little situations, and we'll feel the same way that I'm just over it. I'm done. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm just ready to end my life. We can't be in anguish about these little situations. We got to respect that the Most High God has spared us in whatever situation we in. He could have took us out of here. Give me Job 4:1-9.
God. It's the book of Job, chapter 4, starting at verse 1. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, if we essay to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved? But who can withhold himself from speaking? Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened the weak hands. Thy words have upholden him that was fallen, and thou hast strengthened the feeble knees. But now it is come upon thee, and thou faintest. It toucheth thee, and thou art troubled. Is not this thy fear, thy confidence, thy hope, and thy uprightness of thy ways? Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils are they consumed.
Con. So Joe's friends, all of them had the same sentiment, but we just reading one portion, which is from Eliphaz the Temanite. And Job, his entire stance the whole time he's going through this, he's telling his friends, like, I haven't done anything. I've been faithful to the Most High. And so when you look at verse 7, it says, remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous cut off? Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils are they consumed. So that he's saying to him, man, I don't care what you talking about, Job. You did something. You had to do something in order for you to be receiving this judgment from the Most High. You committed some type of iniquity, because this is how the Most High God deals with those that are wicked. Not understanding that we're gonna go through things whether we wicked or whether we righteous in this lifetime. But if you want to make a point, you can.
Yeah. I would just in the comments, I put good counsel, wrong time, and person,
God.
because like what Eliphaz says right here is not like it's not like just incorrect or wrong in general, because like we even see Paul, he says a similar thing, I think in Galatians 6, where it says whatever a man sows that shall he reap, roughly paraphrasing. And we see a similar thing right here. And even him speaking about, have the innocent ever perish, the righteous, have the righteous ever perish. And we see in scripture where it speaks about how the Most High is going to protect them that trust in him and keep his commandments, and them that are innocent, he's going to protect. But we have examples of innocent people, going through things and even dying. Like we have examples of babies dying. Like the baby didn't do anything. The baby was innocent, but it was cut off. It was, it died, right? And even in the case of Job, literally, he didn't plow iniquity. Like he didn't sow wickedness, but he received, this evil and like perils and tribulation. Like he didn't put in, he didn't he didn't put in like evil and get out evil. Like Job was righteous, and the Most High calls him righteous and upright, but now he's being tempted. But Eliphaz, he's speaking from like more so a myopic point of view, and like a one-sided point of view, where we know, okay, well, God, he's not gonna, punish anyone innocent, so you got to be wicked. And it's like you can't put the Most High in a box like that and say, well, this is how it's got to be. Like the Most High, he has his ways and his reasons, and that's why the scriptures they speak, how they do about him. Like his ways are not like our ways, and even deal with that precept and or that scripture in context is speaking about mercy and how much the Most High, he'll give mercy or he won't give mercy. Like I think in that same chapter speaks about the sure mercies of David, whereas like David's descendants they didn't always do right in the sight of the Most High, but he's still presenting mercy to them. And like some people, they'll look at that and be like, man, that don't make no sense. Like, God, why are you so merciful? Like you seen Jonah, he was kind of speaking to it like that as well. So like right here, Eliphaz, like I said, he gives like you could find scriptures that say that. You could find plenty of scriptures that say what he's saying, but it's the wrong time and it's the wrong person. But I yield there.
Con, beautiful wisdom.
Praise.
Let's look at Job 31, verses 1 through 11. We're gonna look at some stuff Job had to say about his situation.
God. This is the book of Job, chapter 31, starting at verse 1. I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above? And what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? Doth not he see my ways and count all my steps? If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot hath hasted in deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. If my step hath turned out of the way, and mine heart walked after mine eyes, and if any blot hath cleaved to mine hands, then let me sow, and let another eat. Yea, let my offspring be rooted up. If mine heart have been deceived by a woman, or if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind unto another, and let others bow down upon her. For this is an heinous crime. Yea, it is an iniquity to be punished by the judges.
So he don't understand what he going through because he knows he's walking upright. He's like, yeah, if I did any of this stuff, hey, I deserve it. But I didn't do any of this. I haven't done any of the things that I'm naming. He starts off with verse 1 saying, I made a covenant with mine eye. Why then should I think upon a maid? So he's saying, I made a covenant with my eyes. I'm not going to sin with my eyes if I made a covenant with the Most High with my eyes. For what portion of God or Elohim is there from above, and what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity. And this is why he's befuddled, because he knows that he's not a worker of iniquity, but he's just going through a trial, and it's causing him to just scratch his head and really just be in anguish and basically question the Most High God. Why am I going through what I'm going through? And Khan sis, she said, laugh out loud, said it myself, if I'm being honest. Glad I came through it and yes, was spared. Yeah, like, we all go through some things. And we can think that while we're in it, of course, you're gonna feel like, you going through the worst thing you could possibly go through because you want to be better than what you currently are, but there's always somebody going through worse. But all praise to the Most High, sis, that you were spared, that we all been spared, and we didn't see death, that we still here, able to continue walking in faith, and also that we're able to even go through trials and tribulations to continue to prove ourselves, just like I brought out earlier, Ecclesiastes 2 and 5, Ecclesiasticus 2 and 5, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So we're still given the opportunity to prove ourselves to be acceptable. Fine, and if you want to speak on it, you can.
Yeah, just this is sometimes a situation as well. Like people are actually being punished, or like, or they might even be getting judged for certain sins that they're doing, and maybe not even to the level that they should be, because they might deserve death, because they might have did some of the things that Job mentioned, or the scriptures speak against. But they might look at it as, oh well, the Lord, he's tempting me right now in X, Y, and Z. But that, like, you're not going through a Job moment, because Job, he didn't do any of these things. Like, the Most High, he selected him and he singled him out and said, look, this brother's perfect, he's upright, and you can test him, because I know he's not gonna curse me or turn against me. So that was the situation with Job. But like, thinking because you're being punished for your sins, or you could be getting punished for your sins, but trying to rationalize it in your mind as, or you're going through your Job moment, or like the Most High, he's testing you. That's not the case. And I think there are people that, well, I know of people. I'm not I think, but I know of people um that are a little bit delusional on that front, and they paint it in that way to help convince themselves. But that's something else that we have to keep in mind as well. But I'll pass it
Right.
back to you.
And that's how they carried it in the church. That's how
Uh,
they carry it in the church. And I mean, if they're gonna teach, because they do teach from the book of Job, and they'll kind of generalize it. Like, anybody can be going through their Job moment. That, like, you don't have to be wicked, but they don't understand. Well, you're not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, so you are wicked. Maybe you're just reaping what you sow. You're not going through Job. So let's go to Job 38,
uh,
and let's look at what Yahweh spake to Job. Let's get verses 1 through 5.
it's the book of Job, chapter 1. It's like it, chapter 38, starting at verse 1. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundation of the earth? Declare, if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measure thereof? If thou knowest, or who hath stretched the line upon it?
God. So basically, Yahweh said, I know what I'm doing. I'm all powerful. Gird up your loins and deal with your test and your tribulation. This is basically what he's telling Job. Like, I know what's best as far as decision making. So you shouldn't have any reason to question what I'm doing. Just gird up your loins. That's pretty much what he's telling. And so when you look at it from that point of view and that perspective, we know that the Most High is all powerful. He's all knowing. And if we truly have faith in him, and we truly are keeping his commandments, we know if we go through a trial and tribulation, it ain't gonna last long, because he's with us. He's gonna see us through it. But he's waiting for us to take hold of the opportunity to prove our faithfulness, to prove that our faith is not easily shaken, that it's not easily wavered, because we know if you have the type of faith that's being wavered, that's not actually faith. And let's grab that in James. I think it's James chapter 1, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So let's get verse 6 and verse 6 through 8.
It's the book of James, chapter 1, starting at verse 6. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double minded man is unstable in all his ways.
And me and Ak had a little talk about faith earlier today about, you know, I believe the Most High. He said he believes the Most High has blessed him with, one of his spiritual gifts as having strong faith. Like, I'm not easily shaken by things that may occur, because I rely on the Most High. He gonna always make a way, regardless, because that's the type of faith we have to have. Because wavering, let's look at wavering. Let's look at that in Greek.
Okay. So this is G1252 diacrano, and a verb, outline of biblical usage, to separate, make a distinction, discriminate, to prefer, to learn by discrimination, to try, decide, to determine, give judgment, decide, dispute, to withdraw from one, desert, to separate oneself in a hostile spirit, to oppose, strive with, dispute, contend, to be at variance with oneself, hesitate, doubt. In definition, to separate thoroughly, i.e., to withdraw from or oppose, to discriminate or hesitate, contend, make difference, discern, judge, doubt, judge, be partial, stagger, waver.
So to have doubt, to hesitate, to be at variance with oneself, to withdraw from. And how we do this, withdrawing from faith would be, okay, I lose faith. I start to doubt. That's wavering. And if we can't waver in order for the Most High God to operate in our favor, we got to remember that we just got to have full 100% faith in the Most High God and whatever the outcome is going to be. But Ak, if you want to make a point, you
Nah, nothing to add, King.
can. So let's get Job 42 verses 1 through 6. We getting close to the end.
Okay. It's the book of Job, chapter 42, starting at verse 1. Then Job answered Yahweh and said, I know that thou canst do everything, and that no thought can be withholden from thee. Who is he that hideth counsel without knowledge? Therefore have I uttered that I understood not, things too wonderful for me, which I knew not. Hear, I beseech thee, and I will speak. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now mine eye seeth thee. Wherefore I abhor myself, and repent in dust and ashes.
Fine. So let's look at verse 6. He says, whereof I abhor myself and repent in dust and ashes. So basically he's repenting for not because he committed a sin, but because he started to doubt. He started to waver. He started to not have faith in what the Most High God is gonna do. And he didn't trust in the Most High God's knowledge and his almighty power. So let's look at verses 7 through 9.
This is the book of Job, chapter 42, and verse 7. And it was so that after the Lord had spoken these words unto Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, my wrath is kindled against thee and against thy two friends, for ye have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job hath. Therefore, take unto you now 7 bullocks and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering. And my servant Job shall pray for you. For him will I accept, lest I deal with you after your folly, in that ye have not spoken of me the thing which is right, like my servant Job. So Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite went and did according as the Lord commanded them. And the Lord also accepted Job.
Con. So Job had to actually offer up a sacrifice for his friends after all of these things that went on, because they believed that Job was sinning against God. And we also see that it says his wrath was kindled against them and against thy two friends. Well, it was against, it says, and it was so that after the Lord had spoken these words unto Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, my wrath is kindled against thee and against thy two friends, for ye have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job have. So they spoke lies. They believed that Job was in sin and that he was doing something in order to receive the things that were going on and coming to pass in his life. And also, you never know what else they were doing that caused the Most High God to tell him, "Hey, you need to go to Job and get him to offer up a sacrifice for you, and I will accept it from him." So, Ak, if you could read 10 through 13.
God. Continuing on, this is verse 10. And Yahweh turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also, Yahweh gave Job twice as much as he had before. Then came there unto him all his brethren, and all his sisters, and all they that had been of his acquaintance before, and did eat bread with him in his house. And they bemoaned him, and comforted him over all the evil that Yahweh had brought upon him. Every man also gave him a piece of money, and every one an earring of gold. So Yahweh blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep, and 6,000 camels, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 she asses. He had also 7 sons and 3 daughters.
Fine, fine. So when we look at verse 10, it says, "And Yahweh turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also, Yahweh gave Job twice as much as he had before." So, something I think that we can take from this also is, the Most High, even though Job had accusers, his friends accused him of being someone that was in iniquity, someone that was being wicked. At the end of the day, he wasn't, but they were. The Most High God didn't even want a sacrifice from them. The Most High said, "Hey, let Job offer up a sacrifice for you. I'll accept it from him." So, looking at verse 10, it says, verse 11, it says, "Then came there unto him all his brethren and all his sisters, and all that had been of his acquaintance before, and did eat bread with him in his house. And they bemoaned him and comforted him over all the evil that Yahweh had brought upon him. Every man also gave him a piece of money, and every one an earring of gold. So Yahweh blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning. For he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 she asses." So Yahweh blessed Job even more after he proved himself. So in the same manner, we see this happen with Job. This is the same manner that the Most High God wants us to hold ourselves. He wants us to execute when we go through trials and tribulation. And guess what? He's gonna bless us even more in the end of our trial and tribulation. And like I know you had a point you wanted to make.
Just yeah, excellent point concerning concerning Job. And we spoke about a little bit earlier, just dealing with how he would have been within the patriarchal period, right? Just to show this source, because as we were speaking about and just going throughout this whole story, we see that Job, he was an upright man that pleased the Most High God, so he wouldn't have been walking in error in violation of any sins that we learn of in the law, um, which comes after the days of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and after Egypt, right? So speaking of this, and this particular person, his opinion is that he's an Edomite, but look at what he objectively says. I'm gonna start right here. It says, traditionally, the events of the book of Job, of the book, have been dated roughly to the patriarchal era, because the lifestyle and longevity of Job are most similar to those in Genesis. And as we read a little bit earlier, I think it was in Job, I want to say 42 or maybe 40. I think 42 and 15 maybe. It spoke about how Job, he lived to be, I think, 140 years, right? The patriarchs during that time, you look at Abraham, you look at Isaac, look at Jacob, they were living to be around those years. And then you start to see Jacob's sons, I think like Judah, he was 110. And we start to see it deviate. And then brothers are living till about 70 and like at the best like 90. They're not like living to be that old, right? But we see this link to to Job being during the time of the patriarchal period, because they were living about 140, 150 years. But continuing on, it says it is further pointed out that the existence of roving bands of Sabaeans and Chaldeans, Job 1:15 through 17, suits best the early second millennium BC. There are no real problems with this view, though it must be recognized that the evidence is scant. And as we were going through it earlier, second millennium BC, that would be around the time that we showed on the timeline, which is of Isaac and Abraham, and and also Jacob. That would be their era. So just speaking more to that, this is just another point to kind of touch on that, historically speaking, and this is from a survey of the Old Testament, and this is by John H. Walton, and he's like a renowned Christian scholar, but even he would admit this, and he personally thinks that Job could have been an Edomite, but he has to admit that he probably lived around the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So just wanted to bring that point out. But excellent lesson thus far, King. I'll pass it back to you.
The water, and that's a beautiful source. I forgot that you was intending to bring it out myself, but all praise to the Most High and the water for bringing that out.
All praises.
Let's grab a few more scriptures and we're gonna get it closed out. Let's get Deuteronomy 8:2 and 3.
Con. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 8, starting at verse 2. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thy heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live.
So Yahweh has always dealt with us as a people in this manner. So it says, and thou shalt remember all the way which Yahweh thy Elohim led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee. So that was the whole point, was to humble our brethren and prove them, to know what was in their heart, whether we would keep his commandments or no. So he deals with us in the same fashion, the same manner. He wants us to prove to us that we really do love him and that we're going to keep his commandments. It says, and he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not. So even in this situation, it says, suffered thee to hunger. He provided in the midst of that tribulation where they didn't have food. He made a way out of no way. Manna came from heaven, and they were able to go out and gather food. It says, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doth man live. So we shouldn't be so focused on things of the world. If we focus on the Most High God first and foremost, everything else gonna be added to us, and we have no need to worry about anything. Give me Psalm 26:1 and 2.
Con. It's the book of Psalm, chapter 26, starting at verse 1. For I have walked in mine integrity, I have trusted also in the Lord. Therefore I shall not slide. Examine me, O Yahweh, and prove me. Try my reins and my heart.
Con. So we see that David is asking Yahweh to try him. He's asking him to prove him, to try his reins and his heart. You know why? Because David understands it's a privilege for the Most High God to try you, because he deems you worthy. And just like we read early, he deems you acceptable, or that you have the potential to be acceptable. He says, judge me, O Yahweh, for I have walked in mine integrity. I have trusted also in Yahweh, therefore I shall not slide. And this ain't pride that he has. This is just assurance because he's dedicated to the Most High God. And he understands that regardless of his situation, like I'm not finna go off and start sinning against the Most High God. I love the Most High God. So whatever anybody can throw at me, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to go to war. And the Most High God can allow my heart to be tried and prove me. Give me Isaiah 48, 9 through 11.
Con. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 48, starting at verse 9. For my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. For mine own sake, even for mine own sake, will I do it. For how should my name be polluted? And I will not give my glory unto another.
Within the next week, somebody that's listening right now gonna go through something. It might be me myself. Somebody's gonna go through something. You're gonna be tried in the furnace. You're gonna be tried in your affliction. And we understand after this lesson, and we should have understood it before this lesson, that the Most High God, He chooses His strongest soldiers to fight the hardest battles. And we saw that with Job. It says, "For my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction." So he chooses us in the furnace of affliction. We're going to go through something. It's inevitable, it's unavoidable. For mine own sake, even for mine own sake will I do it. For how should my name be polluted? And I will not give my glory unto another. So he said he's doing it for his own sake, for his name's sake, because he doesn't want his glory or his name to be polluted. So he wants to make sure that you're acceptable, that you really do love him. And in order for him to do that and make sure his name ain't polluted, he gonna take us through trials and tribulations. He don't want his name being attached to a vessel that's an unclean, impure vessel that's not fit for worshiping him and it's not fit to be acceptable to him. And Ak, if you want to make a point, you can.
No points to add, King. Excellent
Uh,
wisdom.
this is the last scripture I got. Jeremiah 20, 10 through 12.
Con. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 20, starting at verse 10. For I heard the defaming of many, fear on every side. Report, they say. It's like a report, say they, and we will report it. All my familiars watched for my halting, saying, peradventure he will be enticed, and we shall prevail against him, and we shall take our revenge on him. But Yahweh is with me as a mighty terrible one. Therefore my persecutors shall stumble, and they shall not prevail. They shall be greatly ashamed, for they shall not prosper. Their everlasting confusion shall never be forgotten. But O Yahweh of hosts, that triest the righteous, and seest the reins in the heart, let me see thy vengeance on them. For unto thee have I opened my cause.
Somebody is waiting for you to mess up right now. Somebody's praying on your downfall. Somebody think that the walk that you in, that you ain't for real about, and that it's gonna eventually expose itself. So they're waiting for you to fail. That should be even more motivation. That should be even more fuel added to your fire that should be burning for the Most High God Yahweh. It says, "For I heard the defaming of many, fear on every side. Report, say they, and we will report it. All my familiars watch for my halting, saying, peradventure, here he will be enticed, and we shall prevail against him, and we shall take our revenge on him." Some people's revenge is just to be able to talk about you and say, "I told you so. I knew what you was doing wasn't the truth. Y'all some liars. Y'all are evil. The Israelites are not the true people. It's the church of God." But yeah, that's all I got for it. All praise to the Most High.
No praise to the Most High. Excellent lesson.
All praises the water to everybody that tuned in for the whole stream. Anybody that's just joined, I see a couple people just jumped on here. There's been people in and out. I encourage you, if you didn't get to listen to the whole lesson, that you go back, go and listen to the lesson. Um, and also leave a like, share, and also comment. Let us know you was able to get some edification from this lesson. I pray that the Most High God has allowed someone to be edified. And that's it. All praise to Yahweh, Bashem, Amashiach, Yahweh Shai. If you got anything you can add, you can, or if you need to just go ahead and take this out, you can.
Con, yeah. One thing I mentioned, like I said, excellent lesson. So brother Hurt been going into the books of the Bible, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put in the comment section the playlist for Colossians. Thus far, we went through the first two chapters, and the third chapter will be coming up Thursday. So if you guys haven't already, make sure to go and check out the previous chapters and also the the other books as well if you haven't caught them, which would be Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians. We went through those three. Um, Next will be Colossians chapter 3. A very powerful series. A lot of um, great wisdom and edification coming forth. Um, but yeah, make sure y'all save those playlists. And yeah, man, like I mentioned, excellent lesson. If y'all didn't see this whole thing in full, y'all didn't get a chance to take any notes down that you weren't familiar with, go back and watch it and grab the notes, um and any sources, notate with the sources, anything like that, because these things will come up, like people, and honestly, in a wicked attempt to save Edom, they'll say that, oh, Job was an Edomite, and Job, he's going to be redeemed, because you read in the book of Job, he speaks about his redeemer. So they'll say, oh, well, an Edomite is going to be redeemed. An Edomite was upright, blah, blah, blah. And so, like, you'll have to deal with that. And so, again, like, it'll be a conversation and something that you'll really have to walk through with somebody if they're sincere, because obviously you got scoffers and they're going to believe what they're going to believe anyway. But you might have someone that's genuinely just confused on it, and they just, they really want to save the heathen, because that's just how people are. They want to save them. But, they might be genuinely confused. And so you'll be able to go through this book and show how they're not, or how Job is not an Edomite, how he wouldn't have been an Edomite, and how the preponderance of evidence, they don't point to him being an Edomite. So that's one way that you could utilize the information brought through here. Also, just a brother going into the story of Job in and of itself is very uplifting and encouraging. So I would definitely, advise everyone that got to tune in to spread it to friends and family. Also, watch over this for encouragement as well. So, yeah, I mean that's everything I have. If you don't got anything else, I can close it out, King.
Nah, all praises. I got one thing. I think what we're gonna be doing after we finish the book of Colossians is we're gonna be going into the book of Esther, because we're all headed to Purim. We're as far as like Israelites in this walk, we have different calendars, we have different dates, but I want to start going into the book of Esther before Purim begins for anybody, as far as Israelites. So we're gonna start reading the book of Esther after Colossians 4. But yeah, all praise to the Most High, and the water for placing the links to the playlist in the chat.
God, all praise to the Most High. Yeah, we'll close it out with number 6 and 24 on down. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. And with that, I'll say shalom.
Shalom, Mark. Shalom, family.
We are treasures.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like that can get a good conversation started.
I
think the message is beautiful. It's also biblical. The Bible speaks about children of Israel being called by the Most High as a treasured people or a special people. So definitely think it's a beautiful message.
Ain't no free will, it's all predestinated. From every death to every child brought forth through copulation. From the spouse that you choose to your current occupation, you either receive mercy or Yahweh's indignation. I can recollect on times that I could have been dead, caught lacking, no strap, I had a knife instead. Played it cool, he wanted to kill me for how I used to move. Had to match his energy, portrayed that I was strapped too. But inside I'm praying to God, hoping he don't shoot. Still I'm whooping, telling him I know where he won't. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Yeah, many you call, but few get chosen. Matthew 22 and 14. My righteousness gonna exceed that of the Pharisees. Do what they